This is a case study analysis of the strategic decisions for heavy-duty diesel engine manufacturer Cummins Incorporated. In terms of the macro environment, there were two major economic events which affected the North American diesel engine market. The first being the dot-com crash in 2000 and the second being the 9/11 terrorist attack in 2001. In terms of the environmental factors, in 1998, NOx emission standards for US heavy-duty on-highway engine manufacturers had been 10.7 grams per brake horsepower. By 2007, it was 0.2 grams per brake horsepower. Having been told by manufacturers that 2004 NOx standards would require radical new technology, the EPA published the rule in 1997. Giving manufacturers 6 years to prepare new engines for the standard of 2.5 grams per brake horsepower. In terms of technological factors, the EPA determined diesel engines producing different levels of NOx between urban and rural operations was due to the electronic fuel strategies of heavy-duty engine suppliers, and that they were defeat devices. Manufacturers then agreed to a consent decree that involved meeting NOx emission standards by October 2002 that otherwise would have been required by January 2004. This pull forward put pressure on manufacturers at a time of economic uncertainty. In terms of political factors, early in 2002, months before the pull forward, Caterpillar reported that it would not be able to meet the NOx standard on time. The company needed another year to refine its technology. Caterpillar appealed to members of Congress, the EPA and the White House, and organised a marketing effort to deter customers from buying the new exhaust gas recirculation technology to be used, claiming it was untested. In terms of legal aspects, legal non-compliance to the standard meant a risk of receiving a non-conformance penalty of up to $12,210 per engine. In terms of social cultural factors, environmental groups and state air pollution regulators were not happy with Caterpillar's approach. This action saw a lack of corporate social responsibility on the part of Caterpillar and its supporters, and a lack of recognition of the potential benefits to the environment and human health. The North American heavy-duty diesel industry was made up of 6 suppliers, including Cummins. There was potentially new entrants, horizontally diversifying from other diesel markets into the heavy-duty diesel engine market. There were potentially high startup costs for those entering the heavy-duty diesel market, but this cost was lower for those operating in other diesel engine markets. Supplier power is low with the number of competitors in the market, but this could change for suppliers who meet the new emission standards on time before its competitors. Buyer power is strong with customers' ability to select the engine for the truck they purchase. Substitutes for the required engine standards is Caterpillar's bridge engine with improved emissions but not fully meeting EPA standards. Cummins' main competitor Caterpillar in not meeting EPA standards has support from competitors in delaying the standard. In terms of critical success factors, meeting the EPA standards required considerable R&D and several other resources to be done much earlier than the pull forward date, including finance, personnel, manufacturing, retooling and supplier development. Cummins had been investing in air handling, fuel systems, combustion research and electronic controls technologies for a long time. The integration of these technologies was required for the development of the EGR solution. Cummins actually knew the EGR technology would form the basis for even more rigorous NOx reductions in 2007. After the consent decree with the EPA, Cummins continued to invest in the technology. This investment, while leading to the meeting of EPA standards, could be seen as disruptive to a market in which competitors were working towards not meeting the standards. This state-sanctioned disruption had given Cummins the advantage over its competitors.
We now take a look at Cummins' strategies. The case study stated they wanted a single company and purpose. Using the theory, this would allow them to adopt an integrated organisation perspective within their corporate level strategy. There were already synergies with their engine and filtration business units. However, given their financial situation, there are aspects from the portfolio organisation perspective that would probably provide them with greater financial control and risk balance that should be considered. If Cummins were to implement the EGR technology, using the theory, their business level strategy would be the outside-in perspective. This would allow them to leverage the first mover advantage. Also, looking at the theory, we believe that the generic level strategy Cummins should adopt is product leadership. This focuses on differentiation, innovation and collaboration, which they have already started this process with incorporating or adopting the EGR technology. Next is Cummins products and markets. Currently they produce products for the heavy duty trucking industry. If we look at the theory, currently they adopt a broad competitive scope due to customising engines for their different market segments and customers. With the implementation of the EGR technology, they could adopt a product focus or even a niche focus competitive advantage. Potentially they could use the technology with horizontal diversification, which could open up further market segments. Looking at Cummins' financial performance, there's been a steady decline in sales growth. This can be attributed to the generic economic slowdown. To stimulate sales growth, Cummins should probably look at their underperforming products, adopt a product or niche focus through differentiation. Cummins has also had a decline in their return on investment. This probably can be contributed to significant investment in plant, employees and overheads. It also is probably impacted from their decline in sales and market share. There's also their investment in the EGR technology that may have had an impact on this. With Cummins' customer performance, currently they have the second largest market share in the USA heavy duty engines, but this is currently declining. Their customer satisfaction has previously been based on fuel efficiency, although there is some indication that customers are now environmentally focused. Cummins is reasonably well placed with future market developments, especially with environmental standards. They already have the ability to meet the future emission standards. Their internal current performance, Cummins employees are starting to become more efficient, but still not enough to address their profitability issue. Their asset performance is decreasing, but their assets have increased since 1997. Their profitability is a concern and has declined since 1997. The dot-com crash has had an impact on performance, but their negative profit margin can also be contributed to their engine business units' declining performance. Cummins can be optimistic or excited about their long-term development. Their engineers are certain that the EGR technology will meet future emission standards. They are in a strong position to implement the EGR technology with parts of their value chain already confirmed. If the technology isn't implemented, then they actually need to work out how to redirect their supply chain, modify their manufacturing plans, and develop a plan to actually cope with the non-conformance penalties. With Cummins' market capabilities, we've already touched on that their market share is declining. We've also touched on that previously the value proposition's been around fuel consumption. Now there's the potential to become more green and environmentally friendly. With their competitive advantage, they should adopt the EGR technology, which will allow product differentiation and also better branding, imaging opportunities and pricing options. Cummins operations has seen them close down 3 plants and cut over 1,000 jobs. They have invested significantly into technology that integrates into the EGR solution. Their potential operational advantage is that they can meet the EPA pull forward date. They should also continue to monitor employee efficiency standards and look at lowering their cost structures. Cummins had a significant human resource issue with their attitude and values. Employees were engaged to develop their new code of business conduct, which now has a performance-driven element. Potentially their human resource competitive advantage is that they now have greater employee buy-in. They also incorporated values such as integrity, innovation, and corporate social responsibility. This really aligns well with the EGR technology and the emission standards. In developing a SWOT for Cummins, currently their strengths are their employees' commitment and buy-in, the advancement of the EGR technology, and their suppliers' willingness to provide parts. Their weaknesses are their current financial situation and profitability, their declining market share, and the poor fuel consumption rates with the EGR technology. There's great opportunity for Cummins to establish relationships with non-government organisations, to invest further in R&D to manufacture engines that have lower fuel consumption rates, and to explore horizontal diversification with the technology. Their main threats are Congress influencing the EPA to push out timelines, losing market share due to not producing a more fuel-efficient engine, and potential competitors ambushing the EGR technology.
Cummins is in a fortuitous position in having a competitive advantage in early implementation of new emission standards. Caterpillar chose a different path in rejecting the pull-forward requirements. This plays into the hands of Cummins as they are more advanced in the development of the technology required. This being the case, it is recommended for Cummins to, in the immediate period, not push for a delay in the consent decree and take advantage of its competitive advantage in early implementation. While there is a cost in meeting the new EPA standards, the benefit is large, with competitors not initially meeting the standard. To provide reassurance to shareholders that pushing ahead with the development of the technology for lower NOx emissions is the correct path, Cummins should enter into a private discussion with the EPA to confirm the future direction of NOx emission standards. This is an immediate action with minimal cost to Cummins, but large benefits in enabling Cummins to plan its future design of engines that meet emission standards. To reassure customers and shareholders that meeting lower emissions levels in the required time limit is the correct path, Cummins should encourage the EPA to invest in an immediate marketing campaign for support for the benefits of the reduced NOx levels. This is a medium-term action with minimal cost to Cummins, but large benefits in assuring Cummins engines in meeting emission standards are market-leading products. To reduce risk of excessive focus on one market segment, Cummins should explore horizontal diversification in alternative industries in both the primary and tertiary sectors where their engine technology could be used. Such industries could include maritime, trains, mining, factory and defence segments. This is a longer-term action with higher costs but large benefits if Cummins is able to sell its products in a larger number of markets.
Thank you for listening to our presentation. Any questions?